Your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Wildcard Weekend in the National Football League. Some intriguing games in Wildcard Weekend. None probably more fascinating than the first one. And I've been told by many that this is arguably the worst game of Wildcard Weekend, but I think it's the hardest to really dissect and determine a flat-out winner. So we'll start on Saturday, and I want to talk about the two Saturday contests, the first which being an AFC showdown between two teams that met in the regular season, the Oakland Raiders, who went from the 2 seed down to the 5 seed due to their Week 17 loss to the Denver Broncos and the subsequent win by the Kansas City Chiefs over the San Diego Chargers. So they lose the division, drop down from the 2 seed down to the 5 seed. Now they find themselves on the road taking on the division winners of the AFC South in the Houston Texans. Both of these teams come into the game with quarterback issues. The Texans are going to start former starter Brock Osweiler in place of the incumbent starter Tom Savage, who suffered a concussion in Week 17 versus the Tennessee Titans. Not going to be able to play in this football game, so they're going to go with Brock Osweiler. And he was benched in favor of Tom Savage. So where's the confidence level there? We don't know. We're going to find out in this football game. On the other side of the field, you've got the Raiders, who are now on their third-string rookie quarterback, Connor Cook, out of Michigan State, who got his feet wet last week versus the Denver Broncos to not so good results. Only 6 points on the scoreboard for the Raiders in that football game against a really good Denver Broncos defense. Going to see another really good defense here in the Houston Texans. So this is a little bit of a troublesome spot for this Raiders football team on the road with a third-string rookie who hasn't gotten many snaps, not many reps for him throughout the course of the season. They didn't expect him to have to play at all. You lose Derek Carr late in the season, Week 16 to the Indianapolis Colts. Then you turn around the very next week, lose backup Matt McGloin to an injury against the Denver Broncos, and now you're relying on a rookie to come in as a third stringer and win you a playoff game. Would be a hell of a story if it were to take place. We'll talk about what I think is going to be the keys to the games for both of these teams. But this is a game that, like I said, it's hard to really depict and really figure out who's going to win the game just because of what I just told you. I set the table there by letting you know that both of these teams come into the game struggling. Both of them lost in Week 17. Texans didn't need Week 17. They had already clinched the AFC South by virtue of a win in Week 16 over the Cincinnati Bengals. But they still limped into the postseason with their quarterback issues. Same can be said for the Oakland Raiders. But the vast difference between the two teams, one plays elite level defense, the other does not. And so that could probably prove to be the difference in this game. If you look at the Raiders, to me, the key to the game for them on the offensive side of the football is they have to be able to establish the run. You don't want to rely on a third-string rookie quarterback in Connor Cook to go out and win you a football game on the road in the postseason. That's not a winning formula. It's not a winning recipe. You need to have some serious run game in this football game, in this contest for the Raiders. If you're going to have any shot of winning this game on the offensive side, you're going to have to protect no Donald Penn, your left tackle, out of this game. So again, another issue against a very aggressive Houston Texans defense. That's not going to bode well for this Raiders football team. Again, rookie quarterback, no left tackle. All of a sudden now, all of these injuries starting to mount for a Raiders team that was relatively healthy throughout the course of this season. So for me, with this Raiders football team, if you're going to have any shot offensively, you can't turn it over. That's one. And two, you need to establish the run to take the pressure off of Connor Cook. Stay in third in manageables. He can complete short, intermediate passes. He was a solid college quarterback. He can get it done, but you're going to have to put him in positions to succeed. And the best way to do that is to establish the run and set up third and short situations. Stay ahead of the sticks, down and distance-wise. You don't want to be in 3rd and 7. You don't want to be in 3rd and 9. You don't want to be in 3rd and 11. Stay away from the penalties. The Raiders, one of the most heavily penalized teams in the league. That's year in and year out. You don't want to have that kind of a game in this wild card weekend matchup, because if you find yourself with a holding penalty on 2nd and 7, now it's 2nd and 17, you're going to have to punt the football with Connor Cook at quarterback. I can't stress that enough. So you can't have the penalties, you can't have the turnovers, you can't have the mistakes, and you have to be able to run the football if you're the Raiders. And you look on the defensive side of the football for the Raiders, it's simple. You have to get after Brock Osweiler. The first thing you must do in this game is stop the run. The last time these two teams met, they gave up 100 yards rushing to Lamar Miller. He had 4 100-yard contests throughout the 2016 NFL season. One of those came against the Raiders on that Monday night in a game that I thought the Texans should have won. So if you're the Raiders, first things first, stop the run against the Houston Texans. Force them to throw, make them one-dimensional, and get after Brock Osweiler, who has been prone to making mistakes this season, which is part of the reason he was benched at the end of the year. So if you're the Raiders, first things first, stop the run, make them one-dimensional, take away the options that they want to go to. Of course, nuke DeAndre Hopkins. And they love throwing to the tight ends, especially Brock Osweiler. He loves force-feeding C.J. Fedorowicz, Ryan Griffin. He loves throwing to the tight end position. Take those guys away and force him to make other reads. You'll force him into some risky throws that you can get your hands on. Got to create some turnovers. Brock Osweiler has given the football away. You have to get after him. Khalil Mack, among others, they need to get back there and cause some havoc. Bruce Irvin, other guys have to get involved, get after the quarterback, get after Brock Osweiler, force him to be uncomfortable and maybe into a few mistakes. You look at the Houston Texans in this game, and for them, the game plan is probably mirroring that of the Oakland Raiders. On the offensive side of the football, you can't turn it over. You got to establish a run because you don't trust Brock Osweiler. Okay, so you want to take that pressure off of him with Lamar Miller, who eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing this season. He's coming off of a week of rest, so you hope that he's rejuvenated and ready to go, and you send him out there and you give it to him 25 times like you did against the Raiders the first time when you gave it to him 24 times for 104 yards, and you hope that he has a duplicate in terms of a performance, and he goes out and is able to put this team on his back, score a couple of touchdowns, and maybe that's enough to win this game against a Raiders offense that is no longer high octane. You need to run the football, establish the run, create a new line of scrimmage against a Raiders defense that has been better of late, but can be run on. If you can establish the run, it will take immense pressure off of Brock Osweiler and that anemic Houston Texans passing attack, which will then give you an opportunity to win this football game and maybe set up some play-action shots down the field. Osweiler does have a big arm. They do have speed on the outside, and Will Fuller and Nuke. You want to try to drive the football down the field. If you could take some shots running the football, going to loosen up that Raiders defense, maybe even force them to bring an 8th defender into the box. So that's something to look out for there. If you're the Texans, got to establish the run. Can't have any turnovers. Again, the name of the game is protecting the football, especially in the postseason where every possession matters. You have to take care of the football. If the end of the possession ends in a punt, so be it, but do not create short fields for an Oakland Raiders offense that is led by a third-string rookie quarterback. If you have to punt and force them to go 88 yards for a touchdown, so be it. Do not turn the football over if you're Brock Osweiler, or for that matter, any Houston Texans player. You cannot afford mistakes in this football game. On the defensive side of the football, it's simple. Dominate this Raiders football team. You need to stop the run. You need to get after a rookie quarterback who has one career start under his belt. As a matter of fact, 0 career starts. He did not start that game against the Denver Broncos. He came in relief. So this is a guy that has never started a game in his life and is going to make his first career NFL start in the postseason on the road against a very good Texans defense. You have to show him what it's like to play in this league. Give him a rude awakening, and the first way you're going to do that is stopping the run of the Oakland Raiders. Make them one-dimensional. Again, I sound like a broken record. I said both of these teams are in similar positions. The team that executes the best to this game plan that I just gave is probably going to win this football game. The team that doesn't turn it over, the team that's able to convert on third downs, the team that's able to run the football effectively and not put their quarterback in harm's way is probably going to win this game. The team that doesn't have a bunch of penalties, that's going to be the team that probably finds their way to the divisional round of the postseason. And look, these are two teams right now that it's just hard to see them advancing past the next round. Either way, this game, the winner that's produced here is probably going to be a sacrificial lamb for whomever they play. Bottom line is, I'm taking the home team here because the Texans, basically what you're saying is, the offenses are washes in this game. Both of them are going to cancel each other out because they're both bad, okay? So with that being said, I mean, and again, the Raiders still have everything that they need, minus, of course, your left tackle, Donald Penn, which is a big miss, and, of course, your quarterback, which is a huge injury there. So I don't like where the Raiders are right now. I don't like a third-string backup rookie coming in his first career start on the road against a good Texans defense. Raiders defense, average to below average. Texas defense, one of the best in the league. That's where the difference is in this game. Give me the Houston Texans at home to avenge the regular season loss to the Raiders, and more importantly, to show a little bit of pride after last season's ass whooping in Wildcard Weekend at the hands of another AFC West team in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I look for them to find a way to eke out a W. It's not going to be pretty, and a lot of people have already said that this is not a watchable football game. I don't know about that, but it's going to be very fascinating to see how points are scored in this game. And I got one comment that I need from everyone that watches this video. It doesn't have to be long. If you want to give me your prediction and give me an explanation as to why, I love it. But if you watch this video, I simply want to know. I'm going to give you an over-under here. Number of interceptions thrown in this game. Okay, we got two quarterbacks that are very sketchy at best. The over-under that I'm handing out here is 4. 4 interceptions. Over or under, which one you taking and how many do you see being thrown in this game? How many interceptions thrown? 2 quarterbacks combined. Maybe we see a third. Who knows? How many interceptions in this game? The over-under is 4. I'm going push. I think 4 picks will be thrown in this game. So I won't take the over nor the under. I'm taking the push. I think 4 interceptions are thrown. And if you force me to divvy them up, I'll go with 3 Connor Cook interceptions, 1 Brock Osweiler interception. But we will see what happens in this game. Give me the Houston Texans at home over the Raiders, 16-10. Let's move on to the nightcap of the Saturday contest. We go to the NFC side of things. The number 6 seeded Detroit Lions taking on the number 3 seed Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are limping into the playoffs. As we know, no Earl Thomas. That's been a big issue for them down the stretch of this season defensively. But they've struggled on the offensive side of the football, too. They've dealt with some injuries at the running back position. They lose Tyler Lockett, which takes away a huge part of their special teams and their receiving core. So this is a team limping into the postseason. They struggle with the 49ers down the stretch. They lose at home to Arizona. They haven't been sharp of late, have the Seattle Seahawks. And so now they go into a position against a team that's not afraid of them. Remember, this Lions team, and I know it's a totally different team, totally different circumstances. However, this Lions team just a year ago went into Seattle on Monday night and had the Seahawks on the ropes. And if not for a poor call by an official, probably win that football game. So they're not afraid of this Seattle Seahawks team, and they're not afraid to go into CenturyLink and win. So we're going to see what happens here. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions haven't won a football game in about a month, and it's starting to become a little bit of a problem now, because for a team that at one point was 9-4, now at 9-7, heading into the postseason, you wipe the slate clean. They don't win the division after leading it for much of the season. They lose in that win, and you are the division champ game at the end of the season versus Green Bay, but still find a way to get in to the playoffs. They've got to find a way to win a ball game in a tough environment like Seattle on the road against that defense. It's not going to be an easy task, but even with the injured finger, Matthew Stafford is still playing at a relatively high level, which is going to give them a chance. The injuries to the running back position are something that really kind of makes me uneasy about the Lions because this isn't a team you want to be one-dimensional against. And the Lions have been that for much of this season, even though last 2 weeks against Dallas and Green Bay, Zach Zenner, the Z-Man, has given them a little bit of a boost out of the backfield. They still don't have a running game that you can hang your hat on, and that's going to put Matthew Stafford in harm's way against this Seattle Seahawks defense. If they can take advantage of some opportunities, this Seahawks defense has been giving it up of late. Okay, they gave up 23 to San Francisco. They gave up 30-some-odd points to Arizona in a loss. They have been giving it up of late. So if they can take advantage of some opportunities down the field, they may be able to score enough points on the road to get it done. Defensively, they've got to find a way to keep Russell Wilson in the pocket. Hasn't moved as well this season due to a number of injuries. There's been a myriad of injuries with him, whether it's his ankle, his knee. He's dealt with a number of them, but you don't want to let him out of the pocket. That's when he's his most dangerous. You want to make sure you make them earn everything they get if you're the Lions defensively. No cheapies. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. Don't give up any big plays to Richardson or not Lockett, who's down and done for the season, but a Baldwin or Jimmy Graham. Don't give up big chunk plays to this Seahawks offense that's struggling to move the football consistently down the field. Make them earn what they get if you're the Lions. Stop the run if you can, but the biggest thing you want to do is keep Russell Wilson inside the pocket and force him to beat you with his arm and not both his arm and his legs. So if you're the Detroit Lions, you got to take advantage of any opportunities you get offensively. You're going to need at least 20 to 23 points in order to have a shot in this game. The Lions that were winning games 16-13 and 19-16, that's not going to get it done in this game. You're going to need 20 plus to compete with the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to need to be able to score the football, and you're going to need to be able to get some defensive stops. You cannot allow Seattle to go down the field and score touchdowns. Even if they move the football, force them to kick field goals, which hasn't been automatic this season for Steven Hauschka. So if you're the Detroit Lions, try to keep this score down as low as possible. That's going to give you probably the best opportunity to win this game. I think you're going to have to isolate some matchups. The Seahawks are not the same team in the secondary without Earl Thomas. So you want to try to look for matchups. Try to get some guys one-on-one. Try to win those matchups. You have some matchups that are advantageous to you if you can isolate some of these guys one-on-one. So if you're the Detroit Lions, you've got a number of weapons, whether it's Ebron or it's Jones or it's Tate. You need to find ways to get these guys the football out in space, and especially Golden Tate. Especially when you don't have a guy like Theo Riddick coming out of your backfield, you're going to have to find ways, creative ways at that, to get Golden Tate involved in this football game. You go to the Seattle Seahawks side of things, and like I said, this hasn't been the sharpest of efforts down the stretch, but this is still a very experienced, probably the most experienced team in the NFC side of the bracket. So that counts for something. They're at home. They've been here. They've done this before. I'm not going to go against them for that particular reason. This is a team at home that has found ways to get it done. They have Russell Wilson. They have the experience. They've been in the postseason the last 4 seasons. They've been to the Super Bowl twice. They've been where they've been out of the first round of the playoffs every year for the last 3 years. They're looking to make it 4. If they can have a solid contribution out of the run game with Rawls and company, and we even saw Alex Collins doing a little bit of work last week as well. So if they can get something out of him, that's going to also benefit them. If they can continue to move the football down the field with chunk plays, they've been doing a really good job of that of late. They can continue to get chunk plays. That's going to help them. They can't give it up, though they've been giving up chunk plays of late, have this Seattle Seahawks defense. And again, I think that's the Earl Thomas effect there. But nonetheless, offensively, keep Russell Wilson upright. This offensive line has been a source of frustration all season long. If you're the Detroit Lions, you need to find ways to confuse them and get to Russell Wilson. If you're the Seattle Seahawks, you have to find ways to protect Russell Wilson, make him comfortable, allow him to distribute the football around the field to the open receivers, and if need be, run it. Whether it's read option, a planned run, or you hand it off to the running back, you have to make sure that you stay balanced in this game. If you can do that on the offensive side of the football, along with getting after Matthew Stafford, make him uncomfortable. Hit him a couple of times, okay? They're basically out of the shotgun because of the finger. So you have an opportunity to tee off on him, get to Matthew Stafford, and make him uncomfortable. If he's got time, he can pick you apart back there. And again, this is not the same Seattle Seahawks defense we've come to know and love. So if you don't do a good job of getting to Stafford, and he is given time, guys can win down the field, and he can get them the football. That being said, I'm taking the home team here, Seattle Seahawks. I feel like they're the better of the two teams, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done at home over the Detroit Lions, who really, I think they've lost their way, and they just don't know how to win right now. And this is the postseason, and they haven't won in the postseason with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and I don't see it happening nor changing in this particular game. I'm taking Seattle 27-17 over the Detroit Lions in that contest to wrap up the Saturday action in Wildcard Weekend. Should be a really fun day of football. We'll learn a lot about these teams and who will advance and who will be getting their offseason started. We're going to see. I think that Raiders game is going to be a lot more intriguing than people give it credit. And I think that Saturday night game is no gimme. It's a toss-up really because, like I said, Seattle comes into the postseason not playing their best football. But then again, neither are the Detroit Lions. Let me know what you think. Give me your winners for these two games. Want to see your comments. And I gave you a comment that I'm expecting a reply to. I gave you a question. What's your over-under for the amount of interceptions thrown in the 4:30 AFC wildcard matchup between the Oakland Raiders with a third-string quarterback who's also a rookie in Connor Cook and the Houston Texans, the fourth-seeded Houston Texans with Brock Osweiler at quarterback? Over-under 4 interceptions thrown in that game. What you got? I'll be back with the Sunday breakdown as well. I'll see you a little bit later on. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you. And I got a special announcement for you guys. Come back when I break down the Sunday games as well. Matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, and I'll tell you again. Going to be breaking down these games, as you all know, right at its conclusion. Going to break the games down thoroughly, talk about what I saw. But I will also have halftime coverage on Twitter live. May also simulcast on the Facebook page as well. But for now, stick with Twitter. Going to be live at halftime breaking down the action on Twitter. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Sunday games. Giants at Green Bay. Steelers hosting the Miami Dolphins. Those are coming your way soon. I'll see you then. Have a good one.